What if I told you there's a village in Brazil where nearly 1 in every 10 people is a twin? Not just any twins, identical twins, everywhere you look. Walking down the street, you'd see pairs of children who look exactly alike, families with multiple sets of twins, and a phenomenon that science still can't fully explain. This is Cândido Godói, and its mystery has haunted researchers, conspiracy theorists, and even Nazi hunters for over 70 years. In 1990, geneticists arrived in Cândido Godói, a tiny farming community in southern Brazil with a population of just 6,000 people. What they discovered shocked the scientific world. Over 700 residents were twins, giving the village a twin birth rate 10 times higher than the global average. To put this in perspective, the worldwide chance of having twins is roughly 1 in 80 births. In Cândido Godói, it's closer to 1 in 10. But here's where it gets even stranger. Nearly all of these twins were identical, not fraternal, which is extremely rare even among twin births. Local residents described it as completely normal. Generations of families had produced twins as far back as anyone could remember. Between 1990 and 2010, detailed studies documented the phenomenon with hard numbers that defied explanation. In the district of Linha São Pedro, which is part of Cândido Godói, the twin rate reached an astounding 18%, meaning nearly 1 in 5 births resulted in twins. Compare that to the United States, where even with modern fertility treatments, the twin birth rate is only about 3%. But Cândido Godói achieved these numbers naturally, in a rural farming community with no access to fertility clinics or advanced medical technology. Researchers interviewed dozens of families, and the stories were remarkably consistent. Twins had been common in the village for generations, long before anyone started studying the phenomenon. If you're fascinated by mysteries that science can't explain, hit that subscribe button right now. The scientific community threw everything they had at solving this mystery, and what they found only deepened the puzzle. Geneticists from major universities conducted extensive DNA testing on the village's twin population, looking for any genetic markers that might explain the phenomenon. They tested the water supply, analyzing every mineral and chemical compound, searching for anything that might trigger twin births. They studied the soil, the local diet, radiation levels, and even atmospheric conditions. The results were consistently baffling. There was nothing unusual about the village's environment that could account for the extraordinary twin rate. One theory suggested a genetic bottleneck effect, where a small founding population with a predisposition for twins had created a concentrated gene pool. But when researchers traced family lineages back several generations, they found that the twin phenomenon predated the village's establishment and affected families with completely different genetic backgrounds. Then came the theory that would haunt Cândido Godói for decades: the shadow of Josef Mengele, Nazi Germany's most infamous doctor. During World War II, Mengele conducted horrific experiments on twins at Auschwitz concentration camp, obsessed with understanding and manipulating human genetics. After the war, Mengele escaped to South America, spending years hiding in Paraguay and Brazil. In the early 2000s, Argentine journalist Jorge Camarasa published claims that shook the village to its core. According to his research, Mengele had visited Cândido Godói multiple times in the 1960s, posing as a traveling veterinarian named Rudolf Weiss. Elderly villagers told Camarasa they remembered a German doctor who treated cattle and offered medical advice to pregnant women, distributing pills and injections. The timeline was chilling. Several residents claimed the spike in twin births began shortly after this mysterious doctor's visits. But historians and geneticists pushed back hard against the Mengele theory, and their evidence was compelling. Church baptismal records from Cândido Godói dating back to the 1920s and 1930s, decades before Mengele's alleged visits, already showed unusually high rates of twin births in the region. The village's twin phenomenon clearly predated any possible Nazi involvement. Furthermore, the types of twins being born didn't match what you'd expect from genetic manipulation. Mengele's Auschwitz experiments focused on creating specific physical characteristics and studying genetic abnormalities. But Cândido Godói's twins showed normal, healthy development with no unusual patterns of birth defects or genetic anomalies. Most damning of all, detailed records of Mengele's movements in South America, compiled by Nazi hunters and intelligence agencies, showed no concrete evidence placing him in Cândido Godói during the crucial time period. The Mengele theory made for a compelling story, but the hard evidence just wasn't there. So if it wasn't Mengele, what explained the phenomenon? Researchers turned their attention to the village's unique demographic history. Cândido Godói was founded primarily by German immigrants in the early 20th century, families fleeing economic hardship and seeking new opportunities in South America. These weren't just any German immigrants. They came from specific regions of Germany, particularly areas along the Rhine River Valley. Geneticists discovered something fascinating when they analyzed the ancestry of the village's twin families. Many traced their lineage back to small, isolated communities in Germany where twin births had also been unusually common for generations. This suggested a founder effect, a genetic phenomenon where a small group of people with specific traits establishes a new population, concentrating those traits in their descendants. In Cândido Godói's case, if the founding families happened to carry genes that predisposed them to having twins, and if those families primarily married within their community for generations, it could explain the extraordinarily high twin rate. Modern genetic studies have provided partial answers, but the mystery remains incomplete. Researchers identified that the village population shows higher frequencies of certain genetic variants associated with hyperovulation, when a woman's ovaries release multiple eggs during a single cycle. This increases the chances of fraternal twins, though it doesn't fully explain the high rate of identical twins, which occur randomly when a single fertilized egg splits. Some scientists proposed that environmental factors unique to the region might interact with genetic predispositions in ways we don't yet understand. Perhaps something in the local ecosystem, a combination of soil minerals, water composition, or even microbial populations, creates conditions that favor twin pregnancies. But decades of environmental testing have failed to identify any such factors. The honest truth is that despite all our advanced genetic technology and decades of research, science cannot fully explain why Cândido Godói produces so many twins. Today, Cândido Godói has embraced its unique identity, even as the mystery continues to baffle the world. The village has become a tourist destination, with visitors from around the globe coming to witness the phenomenon firsthand. But for the residents themselves, having twins is simply part of normal life. They've grown up seeing pairs of identical children everywhere, and many villagers are twins themselves. Local schools have had to adapt to the unusual demographics, with some classrooms containing multiple sets of twins. Teachers report that while it can be challenging to tell identical twins apart initially, the children develop distinct personalities and learning styles just like any other students. The village holds an annual twin festival, celebrating its unique heritage and attracting researchers, journalists, and curious visitors. But beneath the celebration lies an undercurrent of unease. Many residents still wonder if there's a darker explanation they don't know about. Science may not have all the answers, but the villagers have their own explanations that go beyond genetics and statistics. Older residents speak in hushed tones about curses and spirits, stories passed down through generations. Some believe the land itself is blessed, or cursed, by forces that predate the German settlement. Indigenous peoples lived in this region for thousands of years before European colonization, and local folklore speaks of sacred sites and spiritual energies. One persistent legend tells of twin sisters who were unjustly executed during Brazil's colonial period, accused of witchcraft. According to the story, their spirits remain in the area, ensuring that twins continue to be born as a form of eternal renewal. Residents report strange occurrences. Church bells ringing when no one is pulling the ropes, shadows moving in pairs when no one is there, and an inexplicable feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. Whether these stories reflect genuine supernatural phenomena or simply the human need to explain the unexplainable through folklore, they reveal how deeply the twin mystery has embedded itself in the village's collective consciousness. Cândido Godói isn't alone in this phenomenon, and comparing it to other twin villages worldwide reveals fascinating patterns. In Igbo-Ora, Nigeria, the twin birth rate reaches an astounding 50 per thousand births, even higher than Cândido Godói. Local residents attribute it to their diet, particularly a type of yam that contains phytoestrogens, plant compounds that can affect hormone levels. Scientific studies have shown some correlation between yam consumption and twin births, but it doesn't fully explain the extraordinary rates. In Kodini, India, another village reports twin rates 6 times the national average, with over 200 sets of twins in a population of just 2,000 families. What's particularly strange about Kodini is that the phenomenon appears to be relatively recent, emerging primarily in the last few decades with no clear historical precedent. Researchers studying these villages have found no common environmental factors linking them: different climates, different diets, different water sources, and different genetic backgrounds. The only constant is the mystery itself. As genetic technology advances, researchers hope that new tools might finally unlock the secrets of Cândido Godói. Whole genome sequencing, epigenetic analysis, and advanced population genetics studies are revealing subtle factors that previous generations of scientists couldn't detect. One promising avenue of research focuses on microchimerism, the presence of cells from one individual in another's body, which commonly occurs during pregnancy. Some scientists theorize that unique patterns of cellular exchange between mothers and children in these twin villages might create conditions that favor future twin pregnancies. Others are investigating whether environmental factors might cause epigenetic changes, modifications to gene expression that don't alter the DNA sequence itself but can be passed down through generations. The truth is, we may be decades away from fully understanding what makes Cândido Godói so special. Beyond the science and speculation, there are real families whose lives have been shaped by this phenomenon. I spoke with researchers who interviewed multiple generations of twin families, and their stories reveal both the beauty and the burden of being part of this mystery. Some families embrace it. They see being twins as a blessing, a special bond that connects them to their community's unique identity. Others find it unsettling, wondering if their children were somehow predetermined by forces they don't understand. Twin mothers in Cândido Godói report a strange mixture of emotions: joy at their children, but also an underlying anxiety about why this keeps happening. One woman told researchers that when she learned she was pregnant with twins, her first thought wasn't excitement or surprise. It was resignation, as if she'd always known it was inevitable. So what's the truth about Cândido Godói? After decades of research, thousands of tests, and countless theories, we still don't have a definitive answer. It's probably not Nazi experiments. The historical evidence doesn't support it. It's likely not supernatural, though the villagers' folklore speaks to something deeper about how humans process the inexplicable. The most probable explanation involves some combination of genetic founder effects, isolated population dynamics, and perhaps environmental or epigenetic factors we haven't fully identified yet. But the honest truth is that science has been humbled by this little Brazilian village. Despite all our technology, all our knowledge about genetics and reproduction, we can't definitively explain why one specific place on Earth produces twins at 10 times the normal rate. And maybe that's okay. Maybe some mysteries remind us that for all our scientific progress, there are still phenomena in this world that resist easy explanation. The village of twins stands as a testament to the limits of human knowledge. It's a place where science and folklore intersect, where genetic research meets supernatural speculation, and where families live with a phenomenon they can observe but not fully understand. Whether future research will finally crack the code of Cândido Godói remains to be seen. But until that day comes, this quiet Brazilian village will continue producing its extraordinary number of twins, generation after generation, defying explanation and capturing imagination. So what do you think is really happening in Cândido Godói? Is it genetics, environment, coincidence, or something we haven't even considered yet? Drop your theories in the comments below. I genuinely want to hear what you think might explain this phenomenon. And if you're fascinated by unsolved mysteries like this one, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more stories that challenge everything we think we know about our world. Because sometimes, the most interesting questions are the ones we can't answer.